So you may want to kind of turn your chair around because I'm going to right up here first because we're going to review each one of them.
Sorry.
It's okay. You know me, I'm flexible. You're just kind of moving around. Or, yeah, you can sit there for a second.
Yeah, let's get over here, so I'll be on your way.
Just a quick review of all of the character structures that we've studied, and we're not going to go into great detail about them. As I mentioned, there's handouts from each of the classes, and we're going to talk about how each character, in other words, it's the trauma and the stuff, and as you work through it, and the character defects, I'm going to call them defects, the character defense patterns that we learn from these characterologies, and how you transform that into a gift, basically. And so I'm going to test some of you that have been here for part of it. I know Christy knows some of this because she answered it for me last time. So what's the transformation of the schizoid look like?
That one is that I am safe.
Yes. Very good. I'm safe and fully embodied. Remember, part of the defense pattern of the schizoid is kind of disassociating and to pull your energy out and not really be completely present. And so safe and in your body. Safety is key. When you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you don't, that's the very bottom of the scale. So if you're not feeling safe, and so you can think, yeah, I feel safe in my house, but it's different feeling safe in your body and your energy feeling safe in the body and feeling completely embodied. So that's in your body. Maybe you can use a different marker. Embodiment is kind of what it's all about. The oral structure. Sure, Christy knows, I know. She's my prize student here this evening.
That one's the I am enough.
Yes, I am enough, feeling full enough and good enough and enough in the universe. So being enough, I am enough, I have enough. There is an abundance of the universe and not feeling like there's a scarcity, that there is enough in the universe for everyone to have everything that they need and want. And so it's feeling enough. And the oral characterology learns to, a lot of times the oral characterology is drawing their energy from other people and other things because they don't feel good enough inside. They haven't learned to pull the energy in from the universe, from the earth, from who they are, and know that they are enough. So feeling safe, it's almost like it kind of goes through a scale here, feeling safe in the body and then feeling like you're enough, that you can have everything that you need, that you are enough. So the masochist. It's kind of, you can look at her notes, it's kind of the doormat, the one that kind of always gives themselves away, is sacrificial, and just, feels like they don't deserve anything. Let me help you out. Yeah, empowered, to feel your own inner power. Feel that you are, and kind of like,
That's like the victim state.
Yep, that's like the victim state, and being able to pull yourself out of that. I remember in the Barbara Brennan School in particular, and we would do these like large group, I forget what they called them, where there'd be like 80 of us because there were that many in the class, and it would be like a practice kind of demonstration. So one person would be looking at their issues. And I can remember that week in particular, I must have been dealing with some masochist issues, but I kept seeing this sumo wrestler as one of my guides. It was really kind of interesting because it was like, I kept hearing the words arigato or something Japanese, and I was like, I didn't really know what was going on. And so we're sitting in this great big group and they say, so who's going to be the demonstration today, and it's like this energy is like pushing me out of the chair, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're standing in front of the whole group of 80 people. And I remember I was dealing with something masochistic because at one point I just kind of sat in the middle of the floor. And you could tell everybody in the group was just feeling like they wanted to shake somebody, you know, and they're really kind of in that victim kind of mode. You just want to shake them and get them out of it. And so finally, you know, the teachers were working with me. I can't remember the whole thing. It's been too long ago. But I remember at one point I started talking about the sumo wrestler that was my guide that showed up that week. And so it was like, okay, so what would a sumo wrestler really be like? What's the energy of a sumo wrestler? You know, this big energy, you know, and so it's like, then, you know, kind of once you empowered with that and you could feel that powerful inner energy of a sumo wrestler is like, you know, then I got up off the floor and then everybody in the group was acting like sumo wrestlers, you know, until we could get into this empowerment of feeling empowered and out of that victim kind of, you know, the whole world's against me kind of thing. So feeling empowered is where the masochist can take you if you can pull yourself out of that, and we did some practices with that. The psychopath is what we looked at last week. I don't think anybody here was with that.
And love.
Yay! They feel loved. They're looking for love in all the wrong places until you find the love within and the divine love and the essence of who you really are. A lot of times they're really hurt, their energy's hurt, and so they're throwing it at other people and really angry at the world a lot of times. And so when they can feel that love within, it really can shift. So what we're going to look at tonight then is the rigid character. So I'll pass that sheet out. And this one is very interesting. I think it kind of sums it all up.
I have to rename them all.
You can do that. That's probably a good idea because the words,
Well, I think it's more modern, like, narcissist is the psychopath.
That's
The
true.
victim's the masochist.
Yeah.
I think anxiety is the schizoid. Just like
Right.
common problems.
Right. Well, and as we talked about one evening, different emotions and different patterns like anxiety. I mean, that can fit under almost all of them, but it just depends. So this is what I've had for each week, kind of looking at the.
For type A for this one.
This is a real, and if you look at their energy field bodies over here, and you can look at the differences with different characterologies. That the masochist is kind of like full and puffed out because they've had to protect themselves. This one in particular, a lot of times it's almost like the perfect body because they work so hard to make everything perfect, except for their chakras, as you can tell, are kind of distorted. They're either closed on the front side because there's no emotion. Your front chakras are your emotional chakras, and the back is, they're over. A lot of your back chakras are your willpower chakras, your will chakras, and so they're kind of like more extensive and used more than the front chakras where your emotions are shut off because they're like oversensitive. So on the outside, a lot of times looking at the person, they're probably the one that works out all the time, and they look like they're in perfect shape, and physically they probably are, but maybe some other stuff going on inside. So turn it over to the back side that has the checklist. And overall, it's an emotional shutdown. It's the insensitive one. Past life events stem from a powerful experience of emotional suffering that the individual has been unable to integrate. For example, a young girl who witnessed her parents being tortured and then killed and thrown into a mass grave. So with each of these characterologies, we've talked about how the past life kind of integrates into what you're learning in this life. And this one in particular is a particular traumatic event that you've kind of witnessed. Some of the others, like the psychopath, was like they experienced their own trauma and adventure. But this one is like witnessing something really traumatic, and it could be in this lifetime too. It almost puts that PTSD kind of word, if we wanted to put maybe a more modern kind of thing on it. And so your emotions just kind of shut down because you're so sensitive. It's like the heart shuts down and you don't want to deal with that part because it's too difficult.
I I think this can even be triggered by smaller things in life, like
Sure.
being a fat kid or being,
Yep.
beat up on, bullying, and then
Sure.
it kind of
Right.
kicks back into, oh, I have to be perfect,
Yeah,
and then
yeah, I mean, being born is actually
traumatic.
traumatic.
The world is pretty traumatic to little people,
I was just
sensitive
thinking,
souls.
how is that different than the schizoid one? Because that's kind of shut
This
down
one?
too. Yeah.
The schizoid, more
You
like.
mean, how is the past life event
Yeah.
different?
Yeah.
The
Is it
past
just
life event
later?
to me is you experience the torture yourself.
Yeah, schizoid's
Like-
more traumatic.
The schizoid is like I was hunged or I was burned or I was
Oh, I
tortured,
gotcha.
and it happened to
To
me.
you.
And this is more, I'm witnessing it, I'm seeing it, and you can't do anything about it. So like the little girl who couldn't do anything about it. Yeah, so it's like you're seeing the trauma happen, and so that's kind of the difference here. So it's like your heart is hurt, basically, whereas before it's more a physical kind of torture, so you didn't want to be in the body. Here you don't want to interact with your heart because it's been broken, more or less. So it can be any kind of love relationship kind of thing too, where you kind of pulled in.
Which one is, because I'm on the autism spectrum, which one relates to that?
I
It's a
would,
shutting down, kind
right,
of feeling.
right. It's probably a combination of all. Autism in particular usually has a lot more energy up and out and a stronger connection maybe with the divine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a lot of the energy is pulled up and out. So the schizoid in particular would be embodying and bringing that energy into the body and feeling safe enough in the body. So a lot of the autism I think would fall a lot under that category, but some of the others too. But autism in particular, I know they have, my understanding is very strong connection because it's like you're having trouble embodying in this earth. I mean, I know even a couple autistic twins that we've worked with in the healing team before. We've kind of watched them grow, and it's taken them a while to even integrate in being in this earth because they're, I mean, true autism way out there. So, yeah, good question. Anyone else have a question so far? The common factor is the brutality of the emotional shock. So it's like I said, almost the PTSD. The situation was so painful that one wasn't able to deal with the suffering. So the sensitivity was then frozen. It's like the body and the energy system just kind of becomes more frozen. There's a fear of feeling, a fear of emotional vulnerability, a fear of losing control. So that's kind of where the control comes in because they're so sensitive, and it's like I have to control everything around me and everybody in every situation. And there's varying extremes of that, but the control comes in because there's that fear of if I become vulnerable and open up, then I'm going to hurt again. My heart's going to hurt again. So there's paralyzed emotions and emotional insensitivity. I'm like you. Sometimes I just need to shed as we talk about. So, emotional shutdown, mental rigidity, and control through lower mind activities. Wanting to be right, to dominate, narrow-mindedness. So there's another example of the controlling and trying to control the environment instead of just being in that flow and flexibility of life. It's very difficult. One might declare, everything is under control. I feel nothing. Don't come too close to me. Don't touch me. So those are some statements that you might hear someone saying that is using that. And as we've said before, we have a little bit of all of them, some of them more than others. And that's why it's important to kind of see where do I defend my energy so that I can integrate it more into who I am. One's entire emotional capacity is frozen. I know this is a lot of what I would work with sometimes with my Brennan integrational practitioner. It's just like you're not feeling, and so you don't really know that you're missing anything because like the
You're
body,
tensing up your muscles
the body is
instead
frozen,
of allowing
and you
them to
don't know
come
that
through.
it's frozen because it's like you just don't know it until you kind of tap into it and you begin to go, oh wow, there's nothing there, like whatever part of the body I might be working with at the time. And then I was like, slowly kind of thawing that out to be able to just even begin to feel emotions and feel things was a big step in being able to do that. So it's thawing out the frozen, feeling frozen as the result of an unexpected shock. The defense system generates mental control, so never again to be taken by surprise or risk an emergence of feelings, a heart of stone. So it's like I said, everything kind of shuts down. It might look like everything is good on the outside because I'm in control and I'm working out and I'm staying in shape and looks like everything's wonderful, but inside I'm a little bit frozen. Sometimes I associate it, with really strong-willed business women or whatever, that are trying
Putting
to
on like a coat of armor.
It's kind of like a coat of armor that you kind of put on. And a lot of times, like I said, you don't know it until you begin to kind of sink into it and recognize it, that you're really frozen. He or she thinks, calculates, and tries to foresee, to plan whatever will happen next. So there's sometimes a lot of the surface mind, as Ottman would say this weekend, a lot of this analytical and trying to figure things out from the head, but not really tapping into your emotions. Our chakras the front chakras are your emotional chakras, the head chakras are your mental chakras, and the back chakras are your will chakras, or basically doing chakras. Will means action. And so the idea is, when we have emotions and we feel things, then we take all that information in. I have my emotions, I have my mental that's going to kind of work through it, and then I have my actions, and they all should work together. What happens with each of the defense patterns is part of us is shutting down, whether I'm frozen or whether I'm out of my body or whether I'm beside myself, whatever the defense pattern is. And this one in particular is kind of frozen and setting more of the emotional things down. But the idea is to be free-flowing and open with all of that, all of our whole energy body, embodied, empowered, feeling love for ourselves so that we can function more freely and not just out of an automatic defense pattern. In relationships, they can be domineering and controlling. They deal with conflict through logical arguments. There's sometimes a coldness, calculating. So in relationships, it can be difficult because one's not always willing to, like I said, open that heart and really have the emotions. The body shape is generally handsome and well proportioned with a lot of energy concentrated to the head because they're going to use a lot of mental thinking and analyzing and controlling and all of this up here. So there's going to be a little more energy around the head. Any questions on those so far? Kind of describes the checklist of kind of how it's developed and what it kind of looks like as a rigid character, and then we can look at how it's transformed, because once it's transformed it's kind of like the other side of the coin, and then we'll do a little meditation here in a minute to help you transform. So the transformation is, even though they may never admit it, rigid individuals are in great pain as their psyche is very sensitive. It's usually a highly sensitive person that's feeling like they have to protect themselves. They have had to become rigid in order to protect themselves. Behind this hard outer shell, there is a highly sensitive being. Through transformation, one will relearn to open up at the level of the heart and mind and to rediscover the benefits of gentleness and tenderness. Emotional mastery is one of the great qualities the structure will gain once it has been transformed. I know for me in particular, and I think I've mentioned this before, the book that Carla McLaren wrote, Language of Emotions, because I know a lot of my emotions were shut down before I first started working on myself. And it was an awareness to know that it's okay to be angry, and anger has a purpose. As we're moving more to the fifth dimension, things are going to begin to shift, and we won't need these to help us learn the other side of it. But for each of us, then, sadness had a feeling because I wasn't allowed to cry as I was little. So it's being able to be in touch with your emotions and letting them move through and being a fully embodied, emotional, vulnerable, empowered, creative, whatever person. So, the transformation character qualities are strong willpower, not afraid to take risk. Once you've come to that vulnerability and you relax into the flow of life, you're able to feel emotions and to experience them fully. A high level of mastery and authenticity. You're more authentic instead of being the frozen person. It's like, I know who I am and I'm comfortable with who I am, and it feels good. You're able to feel all of that. The soul qualities of sensitivity and flexibility is what the soul is really learning through this characterology. So if we were to add a word up there then for the transformed, for the rigid, what would we put?
I think authentic.
Authentic is a good word. What else?
True self.
True self. Yeah.
Undone.
Right? What would be the reverse of being rigid?
Soft.
Warm.
Warm, kind,
Loving.
Open.
flexible.
Feeling.
Instead, the reverse of control, if you're trying to control everything, is you're flexible, warm, flowing, relaxed.
Maybe vulnerable.
Vulnerable is another good word. All of those would fit under what it's like once you kind of get to the other side of this rigid and you can allow it to kind of soften and sink in. One of the things that kept coming as I was looking at this today was, of course, I was with Ottman all weekend, so I got to listen to his lectures and information, and at the end he talked a lot about being in the essence of, because we're connected with everything, and he talked about the difference between content, and just being instead of doing, just being that essence. And when you can really begin to feel that and know that you are that essence, we are the containers, yes, but we hold that essence. So it's being full and having that relaxed flow within us that allows us to be authentic and free-flowing and connected with the divine. Any questions?
Gosh, that reminded me, I had to overcome drawing my confidence and self-worth from how much I could do and accomplish and reach the goals and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I fought hard to, I started trying to be a procrastinator because I do things immediately. And so I okay, I'll put that off for an hour. And so I gradually began to relax and get, who was it that said, you don't have low self-esteem or high self-esteem, it's low confidence or high confidence. You should have high self-esteem just because you're a spirit of the creator.
Right.
You don't have to earn it.
Right.
You just know that you are highly valued because you're, anyway. So that's what I worked on, focusing on, rather than if I don't get anything done, then the day was ruined and I'm worthless.
Right.
You're intrinsically valuable just because you're here.
Yes.
Exactly.
That reminded me of that.
Right. And the more we can feel that, because as I've tapped into more of who I am, I know I'm very kinesthetic also, and can just be able to relax into that and feel that essence, to feel that love, to feel that emotion. Then it's a feeling, and tapping into that inner guidance instead of I still make a list every day of probably what I need to try and get done. But then it's I don't really look at it that much until I'm done, because it's okay, what's the next thing that I need to do? What's the next thing that I need to do? And tapping into that flow and letting that kind of guide me instead of, okay, what's next on the list? What's next on, I gotta get this done. I haven't got this done. you know, because then you're more in your mind. So it's letting go of this analytical, judgmental kind of mind and just being in that flow of whatever needs to be done in it. And I'm amazed usually at the end of the day because it's like, oh wow, I normally get more done than what I, you know, even anticipated. So, and if I don't, then it's like, okay, well, just, it's okay if it didn't get done today. There's always tomorrow, and that's okay. So it's being, for me, it's being in that absolute flow and connection with the divine and being guided that way instead of everything that needs to be done, which sometimes these days is a lot, it seems like. But yeah, it's being in touch with that. Good. Anybody else have a question or comment? I'm moving through it fast. There is information on the other side of the sheet. We're not really going to look at it because we've covered it all. Do you have any questions about any of the other characters? I'm going to go get my bowl. Any of the other structures that we've talked about?
Did this come from that book?
The checklist came pretty much from the small book. Actually, the only thing that came from Barbara Brennan's book is the 2 pictures.
Okay.
The rest of it is from, yeah, that small book. If you're interested, I think you can get it on Amazon. I don't know, 15 maybe, something like that. If you're interested in reading the whole thing.
Probably not, I'll just go from there.
I've kind of tried to pull it all together so you can kind of see. And a lot of it is, like I said, seeing where you defend yourself and what you do, and then being able to let go and transform it into the gift that it is meant to bring you is the other side of it.
I love that perspective. Do you know about Carolyn Mace? She has those archetypes, and it's
Right.
very similar.
Right.
Yeah, Brent does that. I don't. I tried to do it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
This is easier for me.
Fine.
Hers is a little hard.
Yeah, I've done some of her stuff too, but yeah, it's all a matter of realizing that that's the way the 3D world is set up, is so that you can experience these traumas and all these experiences, past life and all your lives, so that it can bring you to the other side of who you really are. It's kind of like the balance and the other side of the trauma. The way they describe it is kind of like there's like a pearl here, which is your true essence, and it's kind of covered over and over and over and over by all these layers, you know, of different events. And so as you undo one of the layers of traumas or beliefs or whatever, you experience more of your essence. And so the whole idea, I used to have my little thingies out here. I think I've put them away, my little stretcher things that would show your essence as you expand more and more of your essence, and then you can feel that throughout your energy system, throughout your body, to really know that you are a divine connection and to be able to feel that energy. Okay, so what we're going to do is like a little guided meditation. So I see a couple of you have made yourselves comfortable on the floor. They've done this before, so they know. And so I'm going to use the bowl kind of to start with to kind of get you in that deep kind of connection place, and then I'll be guiding you through a way to kind of relax and sink into that softness, as we mentioned, that vulnerability, that true essence of who you really are, so we can release and let go of the rigidity and the controlling part that is within us. So just take some deep breaths in and out. As you breathe in and out, just begin to relax your whole body as much as possible. Relaxing your toes and your legs. torso, just relaxing each part. Breathe the vibration and the sound into your body. Don't go outside your body, stay in your body. Breathe the energy into your body, the sound vibration into every cell in your body. Letting the vibrations begin to relax. Letting go of the thoughts as much as possible. So I want you to imagine you're in a nice field or meadow that's surrounded by trees. Field or a meadow that's surrounded by trees. Just kind of see yourself standing there. Looking at the trees around you. And in the distance, through the trees, you see a path. You see a path. And so you walk towards the opening in the forest or the trees to enter the path that goes through the trees. And as you go through this path, you're sinking deeper and deeper inside to your inner knowing and your inner wisdom and your inner guidance. Just walking along the path, looking at the trees, the animals in the forest, following the path deeper and deeper inside. See birds, deer, rabbits, any animals in the forest as you follow the path. And eventually you see an opening at the end of the path. You see a light as you begin to come towards the end of the path through the forest. And as you step out of the forest, there is a large pond or lake of water, large body of water. And you kind of step close to the water. The edge of the sand soaks into your feet as you step into the water and slowly begin to walk into the water till you're about waist deep. Little by little, no hurry, slowly walking into the water. The water feels good. It's free and flowing and just the right temperature. Not too cold, not too hot. Body temperature. It's clear and clean and flowing. And as you get up to about waist deep, you're just going to lay right on top of the water, like you're gonna float. Floating on top of the water. And as you do that, feel your body begin to relax. Deep in relaxation as you float on the water. Feeling the body relax more and more. As you're floating on the water, you can feel the sun on top of you as you're floating in the water. Surrendering, letting go of everything. All that you've tried to control and fix and do and be. Letting it all go. The water receives it, allowing it to just float from you out into every part of the water as you sink more and more into you. If you want to allow yourself to sink deep into the water, you can, or just begin to still float on top of the water, but continuing to just allow everything that you don't need to control or fix or do, all of that frozenness, that rigidness, allow it to float away. Letting go, surrender. Surrender to the essence. The water is like the essence, the ocean. You're surrendering, you're giving it all to the divine that has control of everything. All you have to do is follow. To be a part of that. Letting go. Sinking deeper and deeper into the water, into yourself. Allowing the water to wash away all the stiffness so that you can be relaxed and free-flowing and connected with the divine essence of who you are, the life force that is here around us all the time. Muscles in your body relax. Surrendering and letting go that which no longer serves you, so that you can be fully authentic, free, flowing, connected. When our energy is blocked, it separates us from the divine. When it's free flowing through our body and our system, we're more connected to our divine essence. So allow your body just to feel that divine essence within every cell of your body. So it knows and remembers this place. And as you begin to finish letting go of all the pieces that no longer serve you, you're going to begin to kind of stand up in the water again, maybe shaking off like a dog does anything else that is left on you, shaking it all off, that which no longer serves you, so that you can be truly connected with your divine essence. As you stand up, bringing back with you the essence of who you really are, your authentic divine self, fully empowered, fully loved, fully embodied. And little by little, you're going to begin to step back out of the water, bringing only your essence with you, your divine essence, leaving that which no longer serves you, so that you can be vulnerable, relaxed, free, flowing and connected, walking little by little back up to the edge of the water. And begin to walk back through the forest. Maybe the forest looks different this time as you have shifted. Just note any differences as you walk back through the forest. Little by little, no hurry. Little by little. Coming back to the meadow. Bringing yourself back to the room when you're ready to begin to open your eyes and present yourself in the room. Fully connected with your divine essence. So that you're soft and flowing and vulnerable, fully alive, free to be who you're meant to be. That was awesome. I love being in the water. Me too. Good. Good. Glad you enjoyed it. It was awesome. Good. And it's an image you can use anytime you need to, whenever we start feeling all of this stuff going up. It's like, oh, yeah. Once you kind of have that in your system, you can bring it back at any time. Just remember, see the vision and feel it. The idea is to be able to feel it as much as anything else, to feel it in the system and in the body. Good. Anybody else have any comments? Thoughts?
I was having trouble letting something go.
You what?
I said I was having trouble letting something go.
It's okay.
Maybe
okay.
it means I need to deal with it.
No, that's okay. Because sometimes the awareness is the first part, that I'm still holding on to whatever it is. Because if you don't know you're holding on to it, then you can't do anything about it.
Oh, I'm well aware.
And that's okay. When the time is right, it will all.
I wonder what obsession ties to. Maybe masochist. Obsessive compulsive.
Probably. It can fall under several of them. It might be a little, actually.
Oral.
It actually, the oral and also the rigid, the obsessive trying to control. Yeah. Yeah.
And then beating yourself up instead of just letting it go.
Again, it's being in that flow, whatever that is. Being fully embodied, feeling I'm enough, empowered and confident, loving myself. We're all pieces of what we're learning and who we are meant to be, who we are deep down inside. We just have all the other layers and things on top of it. Good. Anybody else? Anything?
This goes along with I'm a member of Eckankar, and dreams are really important. And I've been having dreams where I was sticking up for people, which is one thing that's been important to me in this life. And and I was sticking up for this person in a big way. And so I had a memory come up of seeing a trauma, like you were saying, and not being able to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that resolved.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to cry.
It's okay. Crying's a good release. It's a great release. Yeah.
And I felt stuff around my head.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like some here and some here, and I was like, I kept hearing a clicking. I was like,
I was not over there.
there was stuff in my aura that was like
Sure.
being lifted. I was so happy.
Yeah. Because a lot of the rigid is this mental activity because we're trying to control it, and when you can let that go, it's all in. It's a lot of it's in the head. Cool. Yeah. And so sometimes, images come of memories in this lifetime or others that can help you be aware of where that was triggered, and when you can release it, then it heals forward and backward in you, and then of course as we are healed, then the energy patterns ripple out to everyone around us, where it's like we're not only healing ourselves when we heal, we're healing everybody around us in many, many ways. It's kind of like, when the butterfly flaps its wings, they supposedly feel it around the other side of the earth, and so that energy ripples out, and it's transforming all of us.
Because we're really a hologram and there is no
We're really
We're all a piece of the same puzzle.
Yeah. I could really identify when Ottman was talking about the ocean and the wave, and it's like we're all a part of the ocean, and then it's like we're all like floating on the ocean, like, what is a chair or me or you or different. We're all connected. It's like we're all of it. It's like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. So we're all of it, and so we're connected, but we're separate. So I have my own little container. This is who I am, but I'm floating in the sea of all the essence and all the universe, and it was anyway. I was just getting that image as he was talking. It was really helpful to kind of feel that, knowing that we're connected and we're separate. We're both. So it's beyond our heads intellectually, but when you can feel it and sense it and know it, then it happens on a different level than just figuring it out in the head. When you can feel it and know it here, it's different. It's really different. So, well, Thanks for all of you that have followed me through the whole series, Christy.
So sad I missed one.
We're on vacation, we forgive you. And all the others that have dropped in from time to time. I'm just glad to have you here this evening.
Glad.
You can fill in the whole thingy. I'm still doing the meditations on Monday night. I'll be doing those probably for a while, and I'm talking with Ken Boatman. Putting it on tape, Ken, you're gonna have to commit now. He's a friend, a big tall guy with a big deep voice, and I don't know if you know Ken Boatman or not. He's in the Kriya Yoga meditation group, but he's gonna maybe be doing 2 meditations a month, and so we'll alternate. He'll be 1 month and or 1 week, and then I'll be the next. So on Monday nights we'll have meditations available for people to come and participate in that. And that's-
He's in Dana's class? That you said?
He's been in the Kriya Yoga group. Now I don't know that he comes to her classes anymore, but he's a longtime follower of the group. He comes to sometimes the retreats and so forth. I know him through that.
It's not Ken Skidmore, it's
No,
Ken
It's
Boatman.
Ken Boatman. He's really tall. He's a retired lawyer.
Is he real thin?
No, he's big.
Oh.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy. So, and then of course we have some new things coming up in, this is August? What's the next month? September. September, Lisa's going to be doing a class, and I will probably do 1 class in September on Byron Katie's Who Would You Be Without Your Story? That's kind of popped up. So she's been a person that I've used a lot of her work, and it's been very powerful. And so I'll probably just do just 1 night, 2 hours, a couple hours of working through her worksheets. That can be very powerful. She's like, everybody's a mirror for you, and so I used it a lot when I was married. And I was frustrated. Now I'm divorced 8 years, but when I was married and frustrated, every time he would aggravate me and I would be it was like I knew there was something inside me being triggered by that.
Right.
So I would go and do a worksheet, and then at the end it's like you turn it around. It's like, oh. Because that's basically the only thing that you can change is what's inside of you. I couldn't really fix him or my kids or anything else. It's basically, why am I being triggered? And that, when you can shift that, just like we shifted things here, then you're not triggered by that situation again. So that's what we'll be doing with Byron Katie's work. It's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's a simple worksheet that she uses. You judge your neighbor, write it down, you ask these 4 questions, and you turn it around. So it's pretty simple work. You just really kind of have to sink into it, but the questions are pretty simple. Yeah. And then the last statement is, I look forward to the next time that I'm triggered by blah, 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 because I learned so much from it. It took me forever to learn to say that one. It's like, I'm not going to look forward to the next time he triggers me. But basically, when you can get to that point, then everything in your life becomes like, oh, it's no big deal because I know there's something I'm going to learn from that. And so you're not triggered so much. You're just like aware that, okay, something really irritated me here, and so what's going on? And so you're not as irritated as before because you know, okay, that's supposed to happen so that I can learn something more about me. And so that's kind of the very last statement. It took me a while to really be able to get there, but basically it was like, oh. Because the universe is constantly setting up opportunities for you to learn. If we look at it that way, instead of like, oh my God, there it is again, and we get so frustrated, and you just go, oh, well, there it is again. I've got more to learn with that one, so you just keep going. And that's a whole different shift in the energy pattern. So, all right, ladies and gent, thanks for being here this evening. Thanks for working on yourselves and letting me be a part of your journey. Blessings.